Namaste everyone. I am Manila Chaturvedi, a member of KALAI Association. KALAI is an association which we formed in order to promote Indian classical music, art and dance forms. Yesterday in Aarhus, Denmark, we had a great concert. It was a Santoor evening with Mr. Kaviraj Singh, who came all the way from UK to give a great concert for us. And today we found some time to actually have a small conversation with you so that we could know you more. Talking about Mr. Kaviraji, he is emerging as a unique and celebrated talent of the new generation, and he is also a great vocalist. We also heard you yesterday and it was so great. And he comes from a family of musicians where service to music is of the highest importance. Actually, my first my first question is, you come from a family of musicians. Your father, Pandit Dharamveer Singh, he is a great sitar player. And your mother, she also plays tanpura. Your elder brother, he is into tabla. How come you came into santoor, not into sitar? That's my first question. And what fascinated you towards santoor, and how did you start your journey?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Before we begin, namaste everybody, and thank you Manilaji, Anandji, Mridulji and all the whole KALAI team for inviting us here. We had a wonderful performance yesterday and even better evening I think then with everybody. Such a nice atmosphere being here. Coming back to the question, so my father is a sitar player himself. He's a disciple of Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab. And he moved to the UK in 1979, where he was, developing, the communities and the music scene in the UK. There wasn't so much going on in the early 80s, and he had a passion to, give people a chance to learn many different instruments. So he got some ideas about the basic techniques of santoor. He got some instruments, and he started teaching, the basics of santoor to some students. And then we moved to a place called Leeds, which is in the north of England. And there were some students who had been learning, and because we had music in the family, we would also always go to the classes, evening classes, weekly classes they would do. And I think I was about 6 years old, and you're just going for fun, you have fun, go and see what's going on. And there was somebody playing santoor there. She's almost like family in a way. Kamaljit Aluwalia, she's based in America now.
Okay.
And so she was playing, and as a child, you see so many strings. It's like, wow, this is like, I think I was mesmerized by that, and I just started learning the santoor. We were never pushed into anything.
Okay.
Never forced to play sitar or I think I understand the basics of sitar, and I can play a little bit because it's been in the house, it's been in the family. I've been in part of that environment. But santoor has been, what I've always enjoyed. I think I'm quite a technical person, so then the santoor being a rhythmical instrument, has this logic but also creativity. So these two things go together quite well.
Yeah. Okay. So you started learning at the age of 6, you said?
Yes, indeed.
And you were going to school also along with, or how was your classes? And
yeah, so obviously initially, we were going to school, and just the way within the UK the sort of classes had been organised, it would mainly be in the evenings. But then we also had some learning in school, so we had musicians coming into school on a particular day, so I would also learn tabla. So I actually started learning tabla in school from the community teachers that we had there. And many musicians, they've also started in the same way in school. It's a good inroad into starting these instruments, and then you develop and learn the instruments, the more advanced levels, you might then go privately to your teacher. Or then classes at the weekends, or more intensive learning then that happens after that.
Yeah.
So it's very important these grassroots level
Yes.
sessions to really get going.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, along with that, the evening classes, but then having music all the time in the house.
Yeah, in the house.
As children, we would go to concerts.
Yeah.
In some of the, because it was also fun. As an adventure, we'd go to London to see a concert. I remember we went to see Ustad Bilad Khan Sahab in London, and it was a Sunday night, so we finished the concert in London at 11 p.m. We drive 4 hours back home, so we get home quite late, and then go to school the next morning.
Okay.
But because we were so it was so, and we were so energized almost with the music and everything.
Yeah.
We didn't feel tired. We would then go to school and enjoy the day again.
Yeah.
And, so I think having this environment, that's very important. Having the mahal, as they say.
Yes.
That's just as important as having the teachers. So students who don't have music in their home, if the parents then give them, even if it's just playing some music, playing some classical music or any sort of music, some good music, it's instilling this sort of within the sort of learning.
So you have like a very nice foundation.
Yeah.
Because music all around you and so many instruments like sitar on one side, then tabla also, tanpura also from your mother, and then you yourself, you immersed into santoor, right? Yeah. And so like you started from this teacher, you said, who is based in US now.
No, so she was one of the students actually.
Ah, okay.
So I saw her playing and then started learning from my father.
Okay.
And then in around 2000, 2001, my father had invited a senior disciple of Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma ji, and his name is Ustad Harjinder Pal Singh ji.
Okay.
So he's my Ustad ji, and so grateful to him for guiding me on the path, the sort of particular style of santoor.
Yes.
Because the learning I had from my father was almost very much like playing the sitar on the santoor in a way, which was also a benefit for me because I now collaborate with sitar players and I can understand, the compositions they play and the material they play. But then learning the techniques of the santoor to really enhance the what capabilities you have of the instrument, because we can't bend the string like they can on sitar or slide on the sarangi. So you have to really look at other aspects, so much more of the rhythmical aspects.
Okay.
So a lot of the playing with lagari within the sort of tal structures.
Yes.
So that was very much given to me by my Ustadji.
Okay. And so he was like staying in UK or how?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we obviously having music in the house, we would have musicians coming and staying with us.
Okay, yeah.
So for the first 6 months, actually, Ustadji lived with us. So I was maybe 10 years old, and had this direct contact with him. And it was such an amazing experience then. I'm so grateful for that. And then he actually went back to India, but then quite soon came back. And is now sort of mainly settled in the UK.
Okay.
So since early 2000s, almost 20 years, he's been there. Yeah.
So he has been your guru always, or you had some other gurus also
for
in your
santoor?
journey?
For santoor, mainly my Ustadji. Yeah.
Okay. What was like as a child who was 6 years old, when you first heard the sound of santoor? What was the feeling inside you? Because it's somehow, I don't know, santoor, when you hear, it's very meditational, it's very devotional,
very
it's very calming, a totally different music. What was your, as a child?
I think it's a bit too long to remember.
Okay.
But
it was an attraction for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even the look of the instrument, what's this instrument, how do you play? But then the sound also, it's so different, so unique compared to sitar, because it's a very, definitive strike of the strings, whereas sitar is the plucking of the string. The sarangi is a bowed instrument.
Yeah.
So santoor in its own right has a very unique sound and texture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's whenever people hear the santoor, they think of, obviously it comes from Kashmir, the
Yes.
mountainous region. So
Yeah.
you kind of have these images of mountains. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like I read that you went to India and you took vocal training under Ajay Chakrabarti. Like how important is it for a santoor player, or be it violin or other players, veena, or to have a good vocal base? Like,
Yeah.
what was the idea behind, like, when you went to learn the vocals?
So I mean my sort of learning, I think was guided by my father always.
Right.
I had santoor. I was also learning tabla, so I learned tabla for a good 10 years. Learning the intricacies. Obviously, as a musician, you need to know and understand when a tabla player is playing with you,
Yeah.
or if you're accompanying a tabla player also. If they're
Yeah.
playing solo, you should
Mm.
have an understanding and appreciation also of what they're playing.
Yes.
And vocal as well. I was also learning vocal,
Mm.
not just as a side. While learning santoor, I was learning to be a vocalist as well.
Yeah.
So I had training with my mother. My mother is a vocalist as well, and many musicians who were passing through, having guidance from them. And then quite early on, with Pandit Ajay Chakrabarti ji, my Guruji, he would come to the UK for some sessions. We'd have like intense summer workshops and classes. So for good 4 or 5 years early on, he was coming regularly. I would then spend some time in India, maybe during Christmas holidays or whenever we had chance. And then I spent one year in India before starting university.
Okay.
So I spent almost a year in Calcutta and then some other parts of Delhi, my family, and Punjab.
Okay.
So getting to experience the
Yes.
mahal again,
Yeah.
being in India, it's different than it is in the UK.
Yes, absolutely.
Seeing the concerts, seeing the musicians, spending time with people who are really focused in the music. It's very inspiring then to then learn how to sort of practice. That's, I think, mainly what I learned.
Yeah.
How to practice, the rigor it takes. It's not just the length of time you practice, but what you're practicing, the quality of the riyaz that you're doing.
Yeah.
That's definitely very important. And so, as a musician, whether you play sitar, whether you're sarangi, santoor, also, you always have to understand what's going on in the music. And you do that through vocal music.
Yes.
Understanding on a basic level, what notes are being used, but then how you join these notes together.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yes. Yeah. Like I was having a chat with Hirenji, and there are many tabla players or people who are like taking up tabla, but I don't see many people taking up santoor. Do you also see the same way like me? Is there some reason behind? Is it very difficult and tough as an instrument?
I think santoor is one of the few instruments that is easier to start with compared to, say, sitar. There's a particular sitting position and you press the strings, it's quite painful.
Yes.
Sarangi can be also very difficult. Santoor isn't as difficult to start with, but the difficulty is with tuning.
Tuning.
You have to tune the instrument. They're very
fragile, or
not fragile. I mean, they change with the temperature and the humidity.
Okay.
They're very sensitive to those.
Yeah.
And because there's many strings, there's a lot of tension on the instrument. So if the instrument isn't well made, then somebody may come to a class, they go home and it's out of tune. And so you don't maybe feel it so you don't maybe enjoy as much when you play when it's out of tune. So this is one thing. I think one aspect is the availability of the instruments is not as much as sitar, tabla, these other instruments.
Yeah.
My Ustadji, actually, his father, Sardar Mela Singh, who passed away just last year, he actually started making santoors.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean the original santoors in Kashmir were of a certain quality, the particular wood they would use.
Yeah.
Mulberry wood was a very sort of common, sort of very unique to the santoor.
Yeah.
So it had a particular tone and texture, and then whatever happened in Kashmir and the region and
Yes.
everything, I think it's even within Punjab. There's so many things that have maybe fallen sort of on the wayside. So as santoor as an instrument, the manufacture of the instrument is something that needs looking at, I think. To get really good quality instruments so that students can play and they don't have to tune as much.
Yeah.
So my Ustadji also makes santoors, and even Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharmaji plays one of my Ustadji's santoors.
Okay.
Even his son Rahulji,
Yeah.
they play santoor that are made by my Ustadji.
Okay.
But he's now getting a bit older, so we need to look at, I think, the manufacture of the instrument. I'm kind of quite keen.
Yeah.
I do woodworking and
Yes.
things like that as well, so I'm looking at developing the design of the instrument,
Mm-hmm.
and then also making and
Okay.
hopefully soon.
Okay. Nice. Good
Yeah,
luck with that.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And where is your guru based at? He's also in Kashmir or some other part
No,
of
so
India?
Ustadji is based in the UK.
UK.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
in the
okay.
UK. Yeah, so he's been in the UK for almost 20 years now. But I mean, between India and the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in India still santoor is mainly made in Kashmir, or has it spread to other parts of
I
India?
think mainly spread to other parts. I think
Okay.
now in Bombay there are a few makers.
Yeah.
In Delhi, Calcutta also, but there's nobody who's very particular about santoor and
Mm.
knowing the design and the design requirements of the instrument. That's
Yeah.
another thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you said about tuning.
Mhm.
So that also means like a good santoor player, or a part of the teaching training would be like you need to know how to tune santoor.
Definitely, yeah.
Like that's a big part. Like as compared to like other instruments where of course you should know tuning, but probably it's not a big part.
Yeah.
But like with santoor and with so many strings, like also to know like okay which of the string knows like needs tuning. So that's a big part. But how do you, that also comes slowly when you start off with santoor, or there are some tips and tricks which your gurus would tell you, or how is it?
I mean, I think with any instrument, having the listening skills
Yes.
is very important. So
Yeah.
from an early age, giving children just getting them to listen as well. But then with the learning, they then start to understand what they're listening to. So the particular notes, the swar we use, knowing which note we start from, where to then tune the other notes. So Indian music is based on what's called just intonation, which is the shruti system basically.
Yes.
Whereas in the West they have equal tempered, so piano is tuned with every note being sort of equally spaced. And when you play rag music, the intention is very different.
Yeah.
We're exploring much more of maybe these sort of natural frequencies and a lot of that side. So tuning is very important whether you sing. Also, you have to really have this control over your voice, so that you're singing the right kind of shrutis for each rag. Every rag is slightly different. I mean, tips and tricks. I think just by doing,
Comes.
that's the best. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just one thing is the physicality of tuning. Maybe a sitar, grabbing the peg and turning. Even just practicing that.
Yeah.
And then when you pluck and strike and you hear how much the string changes when you move, getting all of these small details together, then become much more confident in tuning.
Okay.
And then santoor is obviously another level because there's so
Yeah.
many strings.
Yeah.
But knowing how to sort of manage and handle the instrument, keeping the temperature consistent, so that otherwise if it's cold and you start to tune, and as the temperature rises, all the tuning goes up also. Then you have to tune again. So just
Okay.
staying on top of that definitely
Okay.
helps. Yeah.
Okay. May I know how much does it weigh, like when you keep it on the lap?
I think my instrument is about 10, 11 kilos.
Okay.
So I think initially it's okay, but then after like after an hour of playing,
it can hurt.
It can start to hurt. Yeah.
Okay.
But then I think some exercise which I need to do more of. You know, it can really help to keep your legs.
Okay.
You know, flexible and
yeah.
Even just to sit cross-legged anyway on the floor.
Yes.
You know, doing some little exercises, stretches, it can definitely help.
Okay, so like santoor has many aspects to it. It's not only playing but also tuning and also to have like some exercises.
And I mean, obviously, I'm sort of not very tall, but I'm sort of on the taller side, and I have longer legs, so I can keep the instrument fairly comfortably on my legs.
Okay.
For some people, it's not so easy. Obviously, when you start initially as well, at least you can't hold the instrument. So you can either use the case of the santoor to prop the instrument, or make a little small stand. Some people have. And so there's ways to make it easier.
Okay. Nice. To know about santoor, I was like just going through some interviews and all, because my knowledge is not so good at santoor. But there is a lot to do with your both hands are working together. Is there some balancing between, or because I read that there are some people who use the left hand more, some people who use their right hand more. What is yours, and like, can you give us a little explanation or overview about that? Like,
I think that generally most things are balanced to your right side. Like even I don't know, maybe it's just within the culture in India as well. Like if somebody's right-handed, left-handed, if they're left-handed, then you just play right-handed. You'll play like sitar, because you have to change all of the pegs. You have to turn everything around. So it's actually very rare to find a left-handed sitar. So then people would then just play a right-handed sitar and play that way. But with santoor, you can, even if you're left-handed, you would still generally play predominantly with your right hand. So strengthening the right hand. The particular techniques we have, so we kind of use the left right to sort of show how you might play a phrase. So generally then some of the exercises left right right, left right right.
Okay.
These sort of like little patterns and exercises we put together.
Okay.
But I mean, just because I would like to strengthen my left hand, I also do the reverse. So playing right left left left, to try and equally get my left hand going as much as my right.
Okay.
Because then ultimately both hands are going, so they both should be as strong as each other. I mean, right hand is obviously a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And we have had one student who has been left-handed, so we've tried to help her to develop the left hand, as much as, so you have to mirror everything, you have to flip everything around.
Okay.
And they're different styles also. So we play mostly on the right hand side of the instrument. Another style of santoor playing, which is more popularized by Pandit Bhajan Sapori ji.
Yes.
They play on the left side.
Okay.
So just these sort of subtle differences that are there. But we predominantly play on the right, and these techniques, they sort of reversible and transferable to both.
You do a lots of concerts. You're a busy person. I actually wanted to know, do you find some difference in the audience in India and here in Western countries? Like, how is it? Because in India also, I think, like here, maybe the rock concerts are a bit outdoors, but especially with the classical music, it's mainly indoors.
Yeah.
But like in India, I think they are also outdoors.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you feel the difference? Like, and lots of crowd there in India. It's inspiration, or does it disturb you sometime, or how is it like?
I mean, I think that the number in the audience maybe doesn't matter so much, because you can have a small room, a Batak style concert, and the atmosphere can be very, energetic, can be really charged, and you're really inspired to play. I think the quality of the audience definitely is much more important. And the difference is, I think, with being in the West or then in India, I think obviously in India people may have heard the music, they know how to appreciate the music. You know, they might say, "Wow, kya baat hai." In the West, it's not so common, so we have to almost give people the slight confidence to, you know, allow them to do that, because in Western performances,
They
it's
don't do it.
quiet, it's silent. Whereas, you know, we like this slight back and forth with the audience.
Okay.
But India, you know, it can be quite nerve-wracking, I think, for somebody who was, you know, born and brought up in the UK, playing this music, going to, you know, India, where, you know, people will have heard this music. But it's so enjoyable, you know. We get so much love from the audience there also, because we're doing something. Hopefully, that's, you know, they're enjoying and
Yes.
yeah.
Yesterday also in the concert, like I wanted to say something like like of course like "Wah, kya baat hai," but somehow I held myself. Okay, maybe it won't look good, so I didn't. So sometimes we also start adopting like how is it?
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's quite definitely important to almost help the audience to learn how to appreciate the music, and, you know, even by these small little gestures, you know, you can help them to really enjoy the music and be part of the performance.
Nice to know from you. Like a last question, because we talked about like I think more people should take up santoor, and what will be your advice, or what do you think, what can inspire them? And I don't know if there is an age, like of course we say that there is no age to learning music. There are so many examples, but still, like when you are a child, you have time, but when you grow up, you have so many other responsibilities.
Definitely,
So of course things take time, so you need to have time. But like, what is your advice on the upcoming generation? Like,
I mean, you know, trying to balance so many things. You know, obviously with schooling, you know, children are going to school, and you have to help them balance, you know, their schoolwork, but then also being creative. You know, having that and developing that aspect of your brain is also very important.
yes,
So music, alongside, you know, your learning, your formal education in school, you can learn so many other life skills from music.
yes,
You know, if you're involved in the arts, which can also then transfer over to any of your jobs and things like that. So I think it's not necessarily advice for the kids, but for the parents, in a sense, you know, giving them the support, and not pushing them, not forcing them, but you know, allowing them to have this space to play and practice, and actually trying to make them understand the importance of, you know, what they're doing. So, you know, not being on the phone, iPad or computers for so long. You know, giving them also a break from that.
Yes.
So they can focus, and it's sadhana at the end of the day. You know, you're playing, you're focusing. You know, that's the whole point of sort of meditation as well. So even, you know, for a short amount of time every day, 15-20 minutes. If you can do longer, then it's better. You know, have this dedicated time so that they can play and explore.
Yes.
That's definitely very important.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the great inputs you gave us, and thanks once again for the beautiful and wonderful concert yesterday.
Thank you for inviting me.
We really hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.